And, we are going into a new year, and I can tell you right now that going into the new year, there ain't a lot of good vibes here in Philadelphia football. Unbelievably, the Eagles lose today. Forget about the other team staying close. The Eagles lose the game today to the inferior Arizona Cardinals at home and throw their playoff hopes completely into a tizzy. And here's the situation. You can sit there and yell at the TV and be disgruntled and boo the plays that they call. The bottom line is this is what they are right now. And yes, whatever they had, and yes, we did overvalue what they had. But whatever they had, they have clearly lost. And they surely look to me right now like a first-round playoff game loser. And it doesn't matter who that's against. The Cardinals win this game 35-31, but it wasn't so much that they won the game. It was that they dominated the Philadelphia Eagles. They dominated them with the plays they ran. They dominated them in time of possession. And when faced with an opportunity to go down the field for a winning touchdown, they do it. At Lincoln Financial Field, they go 70 yards in 7 plays against a defense that got ripped apart all game long. I'm absolutely flabbergasted at this result. Listen, I knew they weren't playing well. There is no way I thought they could lose a game to the Cardinals here. And of all people, Jonathan Gannon comes back and gets his revenge against Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles. Where they go at this point, I mean, who knows and who cares? So this is the Lehocky Eagles post-game show. Let's bring in the crew. I'm Mike Missinelli. You see Seth Joyner and Mark Farzetta. Seth, let me go to you right now. I mean, listen, I know we were reeling with this team. We knew that they weren't the same team. They weren't playing well. They looked disorganized. They looked ripped apart, really. But to lose at home against a team that had just a couple of wins this year is just mind-blowing to me.
Oh, it's not mind-blowing. When a team tells you, we've been searching, we're trying to figure it out, we're trying to get it right. They've been saying it all year long. And I don't necessarily put it on the players so much as I put it on the coaches, because when, the coaches are echoing what the players are saying, it's incumbent upon the coaches to figure out how to get the players to play at the level or do the things that they want to do more efficiently. And this coaching staff has not been able to do that all season long. Now, listen, I've been saying all year long that this football team, when San Francisco came in here and beat them the way that they beat them, nobody wanted to hear anything. Oh, they're still 10-2. All the fans were, all Seth Joyner does is complain. The team is 10-2 and we're going to the playoffs. Yeah, you're going to the playoffs, but you ain't going nowhere beyond the first and second round. That's just evident. Defensively, they have no remedy for how teams attack them. I think it was a fatal mistake for Nick Sirianni to make the switch to Matt Patricia from Sean Desai, because I think what you're starting to see Matt Patricia try to be creative in a way that can help them and allow them to stop some of the things that you're seeing. But smart offensive coordinators can see the little tweaks and turns and the things that they're trying to change, and they're taking advantage of it. Like you got Hassan Reddick in a 5-man front, and he's on the end of the line. And then they motion the tight end over, which now forces Hassan Reddick to respect that he's there and move out. He moves off the ball. That automatically tells you, that he's in coverage. There's no more disguising it just by alignment, But he doesn't communicate with the tackle who's down in a 3 technique, that he's now the contain guy if they pass the football. So you got the 3, he's rushing in the B gap, unaware that Hassan's no longer out there. And guess what they do? They run the ball right off tackle, right where instead of moving that guy out, It's just the little small things with this football team that continue to bite them, and I've heard all the rhetoric about A.J. Brown being upset, and some of the things that's going on internally. I can understand it now, because this football team no longer believes in how they're being coached. They don't believe in what Nick Sirianni is selling. That's pretty damn evident to me. When A.J. Brown can get a slant or a stop route any freaking time he wants to. And you're running quarterback sweeps? Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm like, I really got to, tone it down because, I almost dropped a couple of cuss words right there. And I know we're on YouTube and we could probably get away with it streaming. But that's how I feel. I don't think that Nick Sirianni has a god darn clue what the hell he's doing right now. I don't think his offensive coordinator, he's pulling plays out of his behind. He is not coordinating anything. He is just pulling plays out of his behind. And Matt Patricia is over on the defensive side of the ball trying to magically put stuff together. And he's got everybody confused. If the linebackers didn't know where to fit before, they surely don't know where to fit now. They have no clue. The defensive line are not playing with their hands. They're not getting off of blocks. Nothing. This football team. Go ahead, Farsi.
Let me get to hear, because what Seth is saying, there's no coming back from. If a team is fragmented because they don't believe in the coaches anymore, it's finished. It's finito.
How can you believe in it, Mike?
There's no way you can salvage that.
Wait a minute.
That's coming apart at the seams.
You guys help me understand it. How can you believe in a coach, okay, when he hasn't been able to fix your flaws and your issues all season long? They've been talking about it since week 1. We got this to fix. We got to get this right. We haven't played to the standard. To hell with the standard. What is your standard? The standard is a psychological thing because you haven't played to it all damn year. So that tells me you don't even know what the hell your standard is. Okay? So please tell me, how is it that the players can believe in a coach who can't figure out a way to fix their ills? Okay? Defensively, it's deeper. It's deeper because you're not talented. Listen, Nicholas Morrow has no business starting in the National Football League. Okay? Let's just say that. Let's be honest there. He has no business starting in the National Football League at linebacker. That's a fact. Okay? No getting around it. But when you couple that with the fact that you've confused the hell out of the defense and the defensive front and how they're supposed to stop the run and where they fit in the run, you exacerbated the situation because the defensive linemen don't even look like they know what the hell they're doing, let alone the linebackers knowing where the hell they fit. They have no clue what the hell they're doing. And they're all a liability in pass coverage. Anytime you want a completion and you got a guy on Nicholas Morrow or any of these linebackers, you can have it. Guaranteed.
If
Farsi,
you're looking
there, hello.
I am not. Are you going to jump in the way of Seth Joyner when he's going like that? Because I'm not going to jump in the way of Seth Joyner. Because, good God, man. Seth, here's my thing. Everything. 1,000% agree. I go beyond. This is an organizational problem with it. If you're a player on this team, if you're a fan of this team, how do you have any bit of confidence in the organization as a whole? They absolutely panic by firing Sean Desai, despite the fact at the time they were 10-3, and they look at Matt Patricia as if he's going to be some godsend to their defense. And there was a stretch today, and one of the reasons you fired Sean Desai above everything else was because of your hideous, porous third down defense. And there was a point today where they were 4 of 6, they're 50%. They kept on just driving the ball down the field. And then you know what actually happened? The Cardinals gave them a break where they didn't have to face more than 1 third down on 2 possessions with 19 plays. When the Cardinals scored on back-to-back possessions for 15 points where they got the 2-point conversion, they ran 19 plays. They faced 1 third down in that stretch. You are warm butter. They are a scalding hot knife that cut through your defense this entire game. The only time you really got a break, 2 times. One, Milt Williams came up with a play to force a fumble in the first quarter. After that, obviously, Sidney Brown coming up with a 99 interception return for a touchdown. But other than that, you were blown off the football field. And you talk about confusion. You can't get the right personnel with the game on the line. After an onside kick, you recover. You can't get the right personnel on the field at a pivotal point in the game, and before that, Jordan Mailata comes off the field with a flag for holding to put you back at 1st and 20. You can't get the right play after that. You see all the confusion on the field between Julio Jones running off the field, Grant Cocatera or Jack Stahl trying to run on the field. They don't know who's coming on, and then you burn your last, I think it was your last time out of the game, and then you bring in a screen to Kenny Gainwell on that. After you burned a timeout, that's what you did it for? Yeah, this team is absolutely lost.
Let me stop you right there. You brought up the onside kick, which to me was absolute suicide for Jonathan.
Yes.
You're rolling, you got momentum, you're playing into a hill. You don't need to gadget it up at that point. But once the Eagles get that onside kick, that's where you go, enough. And that's where you bury them and you put the game away. You got great field position. And they get a first down at the 20-yard line. Mailata gets the penalty. Hurts gets sacked. They pass to the left is incomplete or stopped, and they have to settle for a field goal. I mean, that's mind-boggling. They gave you the ball on an onside kick there, and you couldn't put them away.
Yeah, what did you say, Mike? That's where you put them away, right? That's where you step on their throat. Yeah, that's what a good football team does. Exactly. The Eagles are not that right now. And one of the obvious thing going into today's game, bright lights flashing. It's not some team that struggles against the run in the Arizona Cardinals. It is the worst team in the NFL at defending against the run. And your best running back, DeAndre Swift, has 5 carries at the half. 5 carries. At the drive you had at the end of the third quarter and start of the fourth, he had more carries on that drive, 6, than he did in the entire first half combined. That is embarrassing. Absolutely. And they were calling him out. Moose Johnson on the broadcast is saying, at this point in the season, you're having this kind of confusion. You don't understand what your true identity is. This team, it's another embarrassing loss for the Eagles. And it's more embarrassing at this point in the season than it is to the Jets. Things happen. You're going to have a hiccup. The game obviously sucked. We're terrible in the turnover battle. But this game where you have 2 games left to lock things up, and you poop the bed the way you did today, ridiculous.
I get it about not committing to the run. They didn't have enough plays. This team burrowed through them. They burrowed through their defense to the point where they couldn't get the ball to actually start their own drives. That was the key. You let that team bulldoze you in your own home. I get it that they don't run the ball because they're stupid. Week after week, they're idiotic and they don't commit to the run. And when they finally start to commit to the run, they have a little action. But the fact that they had going in after the Cardinals' first drive of the second half, it was 53-24 in plays. For crying out loud, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. 53, that team ran 54 plays in your keister.
Mm-hmm. They had another long drive. I think it was the start of the third quarter. They have another long drive. Eagles get the ball back 3 and out. They open things up by throwing the football. Do you not want to give your defense even a little bit of a break to try to catch their breath? Because you knew they were already gassed. As you pointed out, the plays were way off kilter. Time of possession was way off kilter. There was absolutely zero saving grace from your coaching staff today. And that's one of the most disappointing things about this loss. Not only that it was, first off, close, and either way it was going to feel like one of them, moral losses again, but it was the fact that you had no saving grace from your coaching staff. No answer. And Seth, you heard me say this in pregame. People talk about, it helps both that Jonathan Gannon and Jonathan Gannon knows you. I thought that was BS from jump. It was by far Jonathan Gannon's advantage that he knew Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, far better than they knew him, because when he was here, he was coaching under the guidelines that the Philadelphia Eagles want their defensive coordinators to coach under, and all the parameters surrounding that. When you look at a guy like Jonathan Gannon, he's out doing his own thing, Seth, and he's sending more blitzes than he did when he was here in Philadelphia. He's a different defensive coordinator, different defensive head coach out there in Arizona than he was here. But you know what he did know? He knew Jalen Hurts. He knew Nick Sirianni. He knew he could get away with a dumbass play call by calling an onside kick after that. That is ridiculous. The most embarrassing loss of the year by far.
Listen, there's no doubt about it. I'm so at a loss for words that, all the grumblings that you hear, the things from players, the anonymous sources, all of those types of things. Yeah. You go into it and you're trying to look at it from being a good teammate and 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 that entire perspective. But I know better. Where there's smoke, there's fire. When you keep hearing conversations going on and coming out from players, AJ Brown does not want to talk to the media after the game. It's like Wednesday or Thursday this week before he'll talk to the media. And Devontae Smith after the game last week, his displeasure in a win. There are like fundamental flaws that are broken here that I don't know how they fix it. I don't know how they fix it the way that it's currently structured. Because listen, AJ Brown ain't going nowhere. Dallas Goedert ain't going anywhere. You're probably gonna turn around and franchise Devontae Smith. So these players aren't going anywhere. But if they don't believe in this coaching staff, if they don't believe that they can put them in the best positions to win games, then that blows everything up. As far as then as an ownership, now you got to begin to think about, do we make a change here? Because you can always get some more coaches. These players are locked into these damn contracts, and it is what it is. And it's very apparent to me that these guys don't trust, Nick Sirianni or Brian Johnson. And they're confused as hell on the defensive side of the football. And listen, this is my greatest fear. My greatest fear is to look up and see a guy like Jason Kelce, who knows that, he's on number 18 in his career. Now, he's either on the putting green or he's got a chip for par right now. It's one or the other. And you're wasting it. You are wasting this guy's last hole right now. Because I promise you, if he doesn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, he's going to call it a day. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Fame. He's got a Super Bowl win. If he can't see a reason to continue on, then he's going to call it a day. Okay? And then what are you going to do? You're so broken on the defensive side of the ball. You got two young guys, who are still learning how to be pros. You got two wily vets in Fletcher and Brandon that's probably playing in their last year. I can't envision them signing neither one of those guys to $10 million plus and bringing them back. Those guys are done. So now you already lack leadership on the defensive side of the ball. You lose these two guys, you have no leaders. Who's your leader? I don't see any playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. I don't see anybody that wants to come up and lay some wood on anybody. I don't see anybody that wants to challenge anybody at the line of scrimmage because they're so hell-bent on this bend but don't break, don't give up the explosive play. You got guys that are off. How in the hell are you going to play off the wide receiver? It's 3rd and 4. You're starting off at 7 yards off the ball, and you're backpedaling on the snap of the ball. Do you not think that he's going to run a freaking out route for a first down? And that's the way you're coaching these guys to play? You're just going to give it to them? I don't understand it. That you've been doing this for 3 years now under this coach. 2 years under Gannon. Bend but don't break. Last year was, but we got 70 sacks. You get your ass in the Super Bowl. You get your ass handed to you in the second half. Why? Because you don't pressure and you can't get any pressure. Okay? So here you go. You hire another disciple of Vic Fangio. We're going to bend but don't break until we get to the damn 40. And look where you are now. One of the worst damn teams in almost every statistical category on the defensive side of the ball, and it hasn't gotten any better. Then you go and make a knee-jerk reaction, and you change over to Matt Patricia, who's now running Sean Desai's defense, has no idea how this defense really is supposed to be run, but you give him the damn keys, okay? And now he's out here like the mad scientist trying to create some stuff on the fly, okay? And now you really got your players confused.
We're gonna get into this game a lot, but let's tell the folks where they are right now, because the Cowboys survived last night, and in a lot of ways did the Eagles a favor because we all thought the Eagles were going to win this game and knock the Lions out of that number 2 seed. So all the Eagles had to do was win out, get the number 2 seed. Now it brings everybody back into play, including the Cowboys, who if they win out would win a tiebreak over the Eagles if the Eagles will lose next week. So right now, the Eagles are no better than a 3 seed and could be a 5 seed where they would have to go. And that's not a daunting task to go on to Tampa Bay and beat, but that team's playing well, certainly better than the Eagles. And if they're the 3rd seed, they would probably have to face the Rams at home. And I'm looking at this game and I'm going, if the Cardinals can beat them here, certainly the Rams can beat them here. So this could be a one and done year after the way they started and the hopes that the fans had for this team. To fathom where they are now, where they could lose in the first round at home, it's just an unbelievable circumstance, Fargo.
Mike, I said in the pregame that the defense is going to have to, the offense is going to have to carry this team, and they're going to have to keep their possessions below double-digit possessions in order to win. Okay, the Eagles, I've been saying it all year long. They couldn't stop teams early in the year versus the run in the 4-man front, so it forced them into the 5-man front because the linebackers were just terrible. Okay, so now they can't stop anybody in the 5-man front. Okay, they proved that beyond a shadow of a doubt over the last 2 weeks. Okay, so I don't give a damn who they play in the first round. They're not winning a first-round game. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because the tenants, the Eagles think that you win games by throwing the football, you get a lead, and then you run the ball late and you run the clock out. Okay. That's the analytical way of winning football. Okay, that might work during the regular season, but that doesn't work in the postseason. Okay, so now Tampa Bay, they got White at running back, not an outstanding running back, but if they commit to running the football, guess what? They can run it. Okay, you got Detroit with two running backs, Montgomery and Gibbs, with speed, okay, that we don't have. We have no speed on our defense. None. No speed. Okay. And by the way, I thought it was a major mistake for them to activate Maddox today. He looked like crap. Absolute crap. They should have left Bradley Roby in the rotation. Maddox looked like crap today. Okay. So now they have no speed on the defensive side of the ball. Okay. What's the other team? Dallas is the only team that doesn't run the ball efficiently that they may face in the playoffs. Everybody else that they may face, they're going to run the ball down their throats. If the Cardinals can come in here and run for 226 yards against this defense, what do you think? Every other team that they could potentially play, and you want to know something? They're going to dominate the time of possession the same exact way the Eagles got dominated today, okay? And then all it takes is a couple of boneheaded, stupid-ass offensive play calls like the Eagles did today, or possessions where they don't score, where they're in position to score, okay, for the game to be a match. I mean, it just made no sense today. You could just feel it. You could just feel. I mean, do you realize that the damn Cardinals scored on 4 possessions in a row in the second half? 4 in a row. Are you kidding me? You had no answer at all for that? No blitz at all?
It is ridiculous.
The Eagles, that passive defense that you've been running, you've been getting your ass handed to you all season long. If it hasn't worked to this point, don't you think you ought to try to blitz and do something different? You think
at 21-6 against this team going into halftime, there's no way you should be losing this game. And they come out in the third quarter, Farzy, their first drive right up the field, and then they get the pass in the flat to Michael Carter, and Shaq Leonard whiffs on it. Again, we're throwing an aftermarket part in there to try to stem the tide. The Eagles, you recall, they had a big play going, and Devontae Smith couldn't handle the bomb. It was a little over his head. He twisted his head a little bit. And then they come right back down the field again. At that point, it's 53-24 in place, and they get a touchdown, one-handed Connor catch. I don't know who it was. Keely Ringo. Keely Ringo did not have a good day, but it probably wasn't that touchdown. It was a touchdown later in the fourth quarter where he was victimized on that tied the score. After the Eagles had gone ahead 28-21, I'm going, okay, enough is enough. put this team away. And again, the Cardinals just come right back down the field. They go for it on 4th down. They get the touchdown. Murray to Wilson, and Ringo was victimized there. And then the Eagles could not get a touchdown to get ahead of them. They had to settle for a field goal on that possession where they got first down at the Cardinals 20. And the play calling was ridiculous. I just can't believe what I'm seeing with this team right now. They're totally torn apart and fragmented, Farzy.
They are a team right now that is completely and utterly lost. Like, there's no way out of this. It's as simple as, I mean, you could talk about quicksand. You could talk about the more they struggle, the more they sink and all that stuff, because that's exactly what they look like. And then you look to their coaching staff, and their coaching staff doesn't have answers for them. You look at the talent on this team. Yeah, you look at a guy like Shaq Leonard that you mentioned, and I was all for bringing him in. I figured it couldn't get any worse. I was wrong. You look at a guy like that whiffing on tackles left and right. It wasn't just this game. He struggled in that Seattle game as well, has not been worth the signing even a little bit. And now you're watching this team 1-4 going into week 18 in their last 5 games, losing to the Seahawks, barely being able to scrape by the New York Giants, who had Tommy DeVito start that first half, and then Tyrod Taylor all of a sudden breathes life into him in the third quarter of last week. And then you go up against this team with 3 wins coming into it. Kyler Murray's barely played this season, and you can't get that offense off the field. And to your point, Mike, that 3-and-out that they had where they threw the ball over, where Jalen Hurts was rushed in the pocket, let the ball rip down the field to Devontae Smith, and he couldn't come down with it. After that, that was in the middle of that run of 19 plays and just 1 third down faced by the Cardinals offense there. I mean, that's just flat out pathetic, and you're letting them run slants on you left and right. You're letting them run screen plays out, wide receiver screens, bubble screens left and right at your defense, the things that you try to do well and for some reason can't, and they're just throwing it right in your face. It was almost personal for Jonathan Gannon, where he said, oh, you know what, we're going to do a lot of the things that you guys think you do well, and quite frankly, actually do well, but you don't run it enough. The wide receiver screens, the tight end screens are the only exception. But when you see slants to A.J. Brown that have the efficiency rating 90+ time and time again, then you rarely see it in this game, especially when your backs are against the wall and you have those bread and butter plays. It is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you mentioned, being up, 21-6 at halftime. Your defense had already gotten you a touchdown. Not just a touchdown, but a huge stop where they're driving the football pretty well. And they flipped the script on the Arizona Cardinals. They're able to get that pick 6. And then your offense can't control the game from that point on. It took you literally, and I understand the first half, the play imbalance and all that stuff, but literally the end of the third quarter, Mike, the end of the third quarter, to remember just how good you are at running the football, and then it took you that long to also remember you're playing the worst run defense in the NFL. This game, this particular loss, is the one that really, and it seems like every single week there's a new one that sticks in the crawl. There's too many of them. So when you start talking about playoff seeding, like Seth was going through, who they could face, who you got confidence, I don't got confidence in them beating anybody. They can barely beat the Giants. They can't beat the Cardinals. They suck.
They put themselves in a position where I'm looking at what would a line be on the Rams coming here? What would the Eagles be slightly favored by a point? Now think
probably
about
a point,
that.
yeah.
Think about if that were like we're looking at the team that we thought the Eagles were. It would be unfathomable to think that the Rams could come in here and win that first round game. Now it's almost a certainty in my point. The way the Rams are a professional team that knows how to move the football, and this defense is terrible right now. So, like I say, this game told me that the season is lost. It's lost. I mean, you can conjure something up in your head that they could win a playoff game, but it's not going past that. It's not going past that, and most likely not going past the first round. And that's the stunning development of this whole season, from where they were to now how we have to process it. And they're discombobulated. They're confused. The head coach really has not taken enough heat. Frankly, I mean, we zero in on the coordinators all the time. This guy is supposed to be the ringleader of this whole thing, and he is coming up really short from the panic move to Desai, which may have been a Lurie call or not. But now, what do you think Lurie and Banner are thinking of Sirianni right now? He doesn't look like he is able to be a competent NFL coach to bring a team that's desperately in trouble out of that trouble.
Okay, so let me take it a step further, Mike. Since you wanted to bring Jeffrey into the mix and Howie into the mix, okay, it's been insinuated, okay, that they run everything.
Mm-hmm.
That they run everything.
Yeah.
That there are conversations that are had every week on why you do this and why you don't do that. That the people in the analytics department have more power over who plays and who's active and what plays should be run than the coaches actually do. Okay? What coach wants to coach under those circumstances? Okay? The only way they keep hiring these coaches that we've never heard of before. Why are they doing that? Because they can control them. They can tell them what to do and how to do it and when to do it. But now they're going to trot Nick out there, and Nick has to take all the bullets when the people who are really responsible are behind the scenes, and you're not hearing anything from them at all. They need to step up, okay? Because
I get that. But this guy is coaching right during the game. He is coaching. It's his live coaching, and he's not coming up with any answers.
Let me ask you a
the
question,
offense, we sit there and go, why did they do this? It never works. Why don't they do that? That team can't stop the run. This is under his control at that point.
It might be under his control, okay? But when you set a game plan, the game plan is set, okay? You're not going into the game plan and just pulling the rabbit out of your hat that we're going to make these changes on the fly. You can make little tweaks here and little tweaks there, okay? But when the game plan is set, listen, you played against one of the worst run defenses in the National Football League this year, okay? You just got done. And you're going to tell me that warranted you not giving – you talked about the run game in the second half, okay? They always go back to the run game when they start to play like crap. You want to know why? Because they know that that's their best way, their best venue for having success on the offensive side of the ball. It opens everything up. But organizationally, they don't want to play football that way, okay? They want to throw the ball all over the map because Jeffrey said it. Guess what? You know how you win games? You win games with a franchise quarterback and you run with an explosive offense. So look what they built. They built this explosive offense, okay? But they're really predictable in how they throw the ball and formationally what they do. They seem to forget that other teams have analytics departments too. And they see what your tendencies are and what those things look like as well, okay? So what balances things up? What balances things up is dominating the damn line of scrimmage by running the football. They do not want to do it, okay? And we can all go over to the NovaCare Center with some signs and stand out there tomorrow morning. And guess what they're going to do when they go to New York next week? They're going to throw the freaking ball all over the place against another bad run defense. Why? Because philosophically, that is what the organization wants to do. And philosophically, that is what the organization is telling the coaching staff to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because they don't want to get in that meeting like Doug Peterson had to go in every Tuesday and defend why they call so many run plays and won a football game. Because that's not the philosophy of the organization, okay? That's the fact.
91 rush yards, by the way. They had 91 rush yards today against a team that I think allows 143 or 127 on average. Anyway, they're the worst in the league.
15 carries from the running backs, only 15 carries.
When you realize that your defense was at a point where they couldn't stop anybody, that's the time when you run the football. You want to know why? Because you need to dominate the time of possession to keep them off the field. Don't come out throwing the ball. You want to eat up as much clock as you can while you have the lead. Don't come out and throw it 3 times and have to punt it and give it back or throw it all over the place and then kick a field goal and allow them to run down.
You are 100% right on what you're saying. 100% right. But keep in mind now, the Eagles were up 21-6. And in the third quarter, that team still burrowed through them and scored 2 touchdowns right away. Now, that's not an offensive game plan. That's almost a will by your defensive players. That's a figure it out if you're a defensive coordinator situation. 2 straight drives, bang, bang, right down the field. This Arizona team did that to them. So we can say all we want about what they don't do on offense. The bottom line is they couldn't stop anybody. They couldn't stop an inferior team today because they didn't have any defensive will. And yes, maybe they are confused because they don't know what Patricia wants to do. But somewhere along the line, will has to take over. And they let that team score how many points in the second half? 29? 29 points in the second half. They let that team score on them.
Hey, listen, Mike. what I know from experience is it's hard to play all out, balls to the wall, when you're not sure what the hell you're supposed to be doing. You understand what I'm saying? The reason why it takes time for defenses to get to where they need to get to is that you have to have your players under your wing long enough so that they understand exactly what you're trying to do from a defensive perspective. Everything across the board, okay? The linebackers are tied to the defensive backs because they're connected with them in coverage, okay? So when they make a call, every linebacker knows exactly what the hell is going on to their right, to their left, and behind them, okay? The linebackers have to be tied to the defensive line because you know what? Each guy across the board has a gap responsibility. The linebackers don't look to me like they even know which gap they belong in. Are the defensive linemen, when you're double teamed, is he coming down to take a guy off the double team so the defensive lineman can stay in the gap that he split the two double team guys on? They don't act like they know where they fit. That's confusion. When you get confusion on the part of players and they don't know where they're supposed to, they play timidly. They play timidly from the linebackers all the way back because they're not sure where they're supposed to fit or what the hell they're supposed to be doing, okay? They just don't know because the coaching staff has created so much instability and the coaching staff has created so much indecision that the players can't believe their eyes and see what they believe and go full bore, 100 miles an hour. That's the way the game is supposed to be played. They can't play that way. You can't play that way if you don't know where you're going, Mike.
I get it. Let's take a breath. This is just a broken situation. It's really hard to believe that how broken this situation is right now. But the Pond Lehocky Eagles post-game show continues. It's time for us to say, if you're looking to hire right now in the IT, engineering, manufacturing, or technology fields, you got to contact our buddy Gary Kane. Maybe Gary can cheer you up. Call Gary and his team at Kane Partners Staffing Solutions. And here's how you can connect.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.